We're going to jump into the latest on your Cleveland Browns in just a moment. But first, a quick friendly reminder to go ahead and subscribe if you haven't already. We're going to have free agency coverage for you guys, along with free daily content. And also, we're very close to our next milestone. We're 33 subs away. Well, a baby milestone. From 17,300 subs. Let's get there before the free agency window officially opens. Click that sub button if you haven't already. Welcome into the Cleveland Browns Report by Chat Sports. Matthew Peterson here, diving into the latest news and rumors on your Browns. Now, free agency is a very fluid window, so if things that you see on screen change, just bear with us skip a couple of seconds ahead here. But the free agency outlook for the Browns is this. Cleveland is rumored to be pursuing several marquee free agents, right? Several big-name players. Now, the Browns are currently, as I speak presently, Thursday afternoon at 5:15 Eastern Time during our live show, in the red when it comes to cap space. Negative $13.5 million. There is no doubt they will get above zero, right? They have to, before 4 p.m. of the new league year starting on March 15th or whatever the date is. I think they will restructure Deshaun Watson's contract. They might make a cut here or two. They'll get some money from John Johnson, but they're going to make some moves. I think they're probably going to get to the neighborhood of $40 million in cap space. So that's good. I think $40 million is really the top end. Personally, that's the number that's been tossed around a lot. I think it's going to be closer to $35 million, and that's good for one big $20-ish million signing. And then you've got 4 to 5 other signings, probably 6 in total you need to make at linebacker, safety, defensive line, wide receiver. But with that being said, let's jump into the first segment on the show, and that is, are the Browns eyeing big-name free agents? Are they going to be big you-know-what's in the locker room? You betcha. 4 Bernie heads, baby. You can believe it, okay? Here are the Browns free agent targets in Mary Kay's most recent write-up. That's got really big names, star power written all over it. Javon Hargrave, Jessie Bates, Yannick Ngakoue, Draymond Jones, and then C.J. Gardner-Johnson. And really quickly, I spent 20 minutes this morning trying to figure out, where does the J in C.J. come from? I don't understand it at all, actually. But the 2 biggest names that have been rumored to the Browns, where there's smoke, there's fire, is Jessie Bates and Javon Hargrave. Both are great players. If the Browns sign either player, I'm going to be excited about that. As should you, right? Both are Pro Bowl caliber players. But if I had to pick one of the two, and I don't think the Browns will have enough money to give these players the big contracts that they are looking for that other teams will be offering, I would lean over Bates and give it to Hargrave. Why? Because I have scars from 2022, and those scars came from the run defense. All right, week 4 at the Falcons. Browns take a late second half lead. What do the Falcons do? 14 straight rushes for 109 yards, a touchdown, and a field goal, and they would go on to win. The very next week, a whole week to prepare for the Chargers and remedy the defensive woes. What happened? They gave up 238 rushing yards to, at the time, the worst rushing team in football. Those are grounds for termination. And that's what happened with Joe Woods a couple months later. At the end of the year, the Browns ended up allowing 150-plus rushing yards in 7 games. Bates is an awesome player. Don't get me wrong. He is younger. He might be an overall better player if you're doing like Madden ratings or something like that. But the 2022 Cleveland Browns defensive line just left too many scars, too many open wounds for me to sit here and stand here now in March and not want to make that the biggest priority in fixing the Browns defense for 2023. So for that reason, I lean Javon Hargrave over Jessie Bates. If Andrew Berry can pull off a way to get both players, I mean, premature, but make him the king of Cleveland, I think he's going to only have enough money and one bullet in the chamber for a big signing. And if he only has one, he's got to pick between one of these 2 players. I would go with Javon Hargrave. Moving on to the second element of today's show. Is it the Philly Express to Cleveland? Yeah, you betcha. 4 Bernie heads once again. I think this is the first time in the show we had back-to-back 4 Bernie heads. I'll explain what this means in just a second, but today's Cleveland Browns report is sponsored by Athletic Greens. I take AG1 by Athletic Greens literally every day. Now, you can get comprehensive and convenient daily nutrition at athleticgreens.com/chatsports. I recently gave AG1 a try because I hated taking pills/vitamins and wanted a supplement that actually tastes great. I take AG1 in the morning, and it makes me feel ready to take on my day. It really helps me with starting my day on the right foot and getting into a healthier lifestyle. I start the day with making one great choice, AG1, and more healthy decisions then follow. Covering my nutritional basis for the day also couldn't be easier, which is why I trust Athletic Greens. I just mix 1 small scoop of AG1 with water and drink it first thing in the morning, and it's done. I also like that it costs less than $3 a day, which, if you ask me, is pretty good. It's a really effective daily habit with the highest quality sourced ingredients. So win-win. If a comprehensive solution is what you need from your supplement routine, then Athletic Greens is giving you a free 1-year supply of vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. Go to athleticgreens.com/chatsports. That's athleticgreens.com/chatsports. You know what I'm going to say next. I've already put that link for you in the comments and the description of today's show. Speaking of today's show, let's get back to the Philly Express, and it's a one-way train to Cleveland, Ohio, because there have been 4 Philadelphia Eagles players who have been rumored to be on the Cleveland Browns radar. That is Javon Hargrave, Fletcher Cox, Brandon Graham, and C.J. Gardner-Johnson. All 4 players have had some degree, some level of smoke of coming to the Browns potentially in free agency. Javon Hargrave and Fletcher Cox have shown some interest in reuniting with Jim Schwartz, their former coach. And then there's Brandon Graham as well. And then along with C.J. Gardner-Johnson, who might be plan B if they can't get Jessie Bates. Now, let's zero in on 3 of these 4 players, and that is the 3 Hogs up front: Hargrave, Fletcher Cox, and Brandon Graham. All 3 players were a part of really almost the NFL's greatest pass rush ever, right? Nearly all went triple digits in sacks. Javon Hargrave, can you imagine for the Browns? The second highest sack getter in 2022 was Taven Bryan with 3.5. Like, I wish. They're all 30-plus years old, different spots in their career. Javon Hargrave's going to get the most in free agency, and I think it'll be following suit Fletcher Cox and then Brandon Graham. Now, then there's C.J. Gardner-Johnson, who was traded from the Saints to the Eagles, and the Eagles didn't franchise tag him, which somewhat surprised me because I thought that would be the guy they'd want to hold on to of all their free agents the most because he's younger and he was really good last year. He had 6 interceptions. That's more than the 3 previous seasons combined. So definitely keep an eye on Andrew Berry, who, by the way, was with the Browns back in 2019, along with Cleveland's assistant GM. There are a lot of Browns and Eagles connections from Jim Schwartz to Andrew Berry, and you might see Berry reach out to some players he used to be with beforehand. So with that being said, let's move on to the next segment on today's show. Is a Daron Payne to Cleveland still a possibility? Well, maybe by trade. I'm going to give it 2 Bernie heads. I'm not all the way at 4 like the other ones, but I am like a little bit above 1 because I do think Andrew Berry really feels the pressure to nail this season. And that might mean giving up more future assets to make 2023 great. So the Commanders franchise tagged Daron Payne to avoid free agency. And for a lot of people, that's where we thought the road ended, right? Well, there go the Browns trying to sign Daron Payne, and all 31 other teams for that matter. Daron Payne got tagged, end of story. Not so fast, right? A tag and trade for Payne is still possible, right? Daron Payne got franchise tagged. They could execute a trade, and the Browns offer him a contract extension. Now, the Browns have been rumored, have been sort of smoke signaled a little bit to be in the mix to make a big splash in free agency. We've heard this for a couple of weeks now of once free agency rolls around, Andrew Berry, he's being very aggressive. That was the word that was tossed around a lot in the NFL Combine of if there's one GM, there's one team that's very aggressive, it's Andrew Berry. If there's an aggressive move, it's trading for Daron Payne. Now, here's what Zach Jackson, who wrote about this in his recent write-up with The Athletic, said. But the Commanders have already devoted lots of resources to their defensive front, and I'm not ruling out the possibility that a Browns team with a glaring need for an impactful defensive tackle and no first-round pick until 2025 offers up a trade package in hopes of acquiring the 26-year-old Payne and signing him to a long-term contract. We all know how great Daron Payne is. Look at his stats over the last 4 seasons. The former first-round pick out of Alabama put up 11.5 sacks last year. You could also make the argument he's not even the first or second best pass rusher on his own team. So there's a lot of excitement around the idea of trading for Daron Payne and teaming him up with Myles Garrett. What could a trade look like? I don't know. I really don't. I thought the road ended when he was franchise tagged. But if I had to take a stab at it with no first-round pick, which I think the Commanders would be looking for, 2 seconds in Wyatt Teller. Even though the Browns said that they're not interested in trading away some of their core players, and Wyatt Teller was a part of those core players, Daron Payne could change things, right? And GMs love to say, we don't have plans of trading a guy because they don't want to announce they do have a plan, not be able to pull off a trade, and then piss off that player in their locker room. So would you do this Payne trade? Would you give up 2 seconds, this year's and next year's, for Daron Payne? Let me know in the comment section below if you would do this trade for Payne, trade or pass. Before we get on out of here, our random Browns player of the day. This one comes in from Dalton Cochran, who's a tight end, Jordan Cameron. This is a chef's kiss random Browns player, right? You remember him, but also at the same time, it's like, I kind of forgot Jordan Cameron existed. And right before we started filming, producer Sam and I were talking about the show, and he's like, you know Jordan Cameron's girlfriend is Tiger Woods' ex-wife? Ex-wife. Someone else needs to fact check this for me because it's 100% producer Sam in the ear. That's a tough act to follow, right? To be dating the ex-wife of a sex addict, I feel a little bad for Jordan Cameron to follow those footsteps. But he is our random Browns player of the day.